Greetings, everyone. I'm about to be headed to the local Indivisible event, the No Kings Day. I want to go there, talk to some people, see why they showed up, whether they're doing it because they support the event or they don't support the event. Kind of get an idea of what people are thinking around here, down here in Southeast Georgia, about that and maybe their current political leanings and things like that. So join me on my adventure. I got my battle buddy, the spider that's up there. And hopefully we have a good time. Hopefully we don't get rained out because it's about to get a little thundery down here on the East Coast. I strolled down the nice sidewalks here in St. Mary's and I made it to the event. There was maybe 50, at most 70 people there. They were, chanting, playing some music, having a good time, holding up a bunch of signs. Very nice to have. But unfortunately, there were some rain clouds on the horizon, and within about 5 minutes of me getting there, it started to pour. After the rain died down, I started to talk to a good amount of people. Most of them, they didn't want to go on camera, which is perfectly fine. I don't blame them. It's a small town, so privacy is definitely one of those perks in a certain way. Mostly talk to people on the protest side of the event. Got an idea of all the things that they were concerned about. I asked all of them, hey, why are you here today? Most of them with, I would think, is the obvious answer of, well, there's a lot of things. But the topics that drove people the most was the actions done regarding deportations of people. That is a very hot button issue, especially in liberal spaces right now. Another was the lack of action by Congress and how essentially all resistance to the executive branch is being done exclusively in the judiciary. One person I had spoken to, that was a veteran, they had a big old pride flag, and one person I had spoken to, a veteran, their main issue was the attack on the LGBT community. They recognized how the outgrouping, beginning with trans people, would eventually be extended to other non-straight peoples, and how the use of obscenity laws would, though at first be used to protect the children, would ultimately be weaponized to criminalize the existence of people, which we saw in the first part of the 20th century. Another person that I had spoken to shared their grievances with the current changes in right to repair policy. Especially the changes that have happened since the significant wins by the last administration led by Lana Khan at the FCC. For those of you that don't know what right to repair is, it is the principle that, these people just want to go way too fast. It is the principle that individual persons and businesses, small businesses or industrial businesses like the one that I work at, have the ability to fix things on their own, and they won't lose warranty ability from the product manufacturer, or they won't incur some type of legal penalty for fixing things on their own. An example of this is at my work, we have these little screens made by Alan Bradley that we load up the program to do the thing it needs to do, and allows the operator on the floor to make adjustments, read indications, do his normal job. And we had to swap one out recently because, every once in a while they do crap out, they die, which, that's normal for any electronic or mechanical system. And the new one that we had gotten had a sticker on the back that covered the screw that went over the battery compartment for it, and the sticker said warranty voided if removed. Well, how am I supposed to put in a new battery when the battery dies? Do I have to ship it off to Allen Bradley? No, that's insane. So there are laws actually in place that sticker here in the United States is the voiding sticker is actually voided itself. So there are laws in place, but there are rollbacks on those rules and on those laws that are happening in our current administration. So that was a really nice thing to hear someone coming out and standing up for. There was another person that I talked to who was on the opposite side of the street, and they had held a sign that read to the effect of, "You're being duped by the CCP," paraphrasing. And I was like, that's an interesting sign. I had an idea what the CCP stood for, but since I was having conversations with people on one side, I figured I'd have a conversation with the one of three people on the other side of the street. So I walked over and said, "Hi, my name's Ray. I was curious about your sign. What do you mean by that? What does CCC stand for?" And he explained to me, "Hey, these events all across the nation, they're being funded by China." So, sure. Very, very common talking point, paid actors, paid protesters. He was not saying that the people there were being paid by China. He was saying that the people who organized the event across the nation were being controlled by the Chinese Communist Party in one way or another, which I don't believe in the slightest. But I wanted to pick his brain, why he was there. We had a discussion about immigration, which made me really reflect on kind of how we approach this conversation. His question to me was, do you lock your doors at night, or do you let people just walk into your own home? Which, obviously, most people lock their doors at night, and they don't want random people coming into their home. But it really made me reflect in the moment and in the day after of this is the completely wrong framing on immigration, because people don't just get in your home, they join your neighborhood. So I think the real question should be, would you let new people into your neighborhood? Which I think most people would be yes. They're cool with new people joining their neighborhood, being good members of society. So I'm gonna cook on that one a little bit longer and build my thoughts on it, produce another, make another video being a little bit more specific on my ideas on that. Another thing that we discussed together, me and this guy, ooh, that's a big tree, ooh, was how people are not getting the health care that they need, specifically mental health care. He said he was a veteran, he had served a long time, and he had seen people that he worked with struggle and become homeless because they didn't have the resources available to them to, take care of themselves. Whether that was through their actions in the military or some form of drug addiction, ruining their lives and them not having that infrastructure to help bring themselves back up. So we talked about that a little bit. We both agreed, hey, there needs to be a more robust mental health care system here in the United States, especially for veterans and for people who are addicted to drugs. Another thing we had discussed was the lack of a real Jobs Corps here in America. And there is a program called the Jobs Corps. We both talked about, it does exist, but I hadn't heard about it for the first time until about 2 weeks ago, when the current administration was trying to shut it down. And we had discussed how this program obviously is not being utilized to the fullest extent. He had some not so tasteful reasons why, but from my perspective, I think it's because, I'd never heard of this program before, so obviously it's not very publicized here in the United States. It's not like, the workers' programs that existed during the Great Depression. But in addition, just for, knowledge of its existence, it's probably not getting the funding and support it needs from our officials. I fully support there being a more robust training program here in the United States that kind of reflects what we had during the Great Depression, public works programs that in a way kind of model how the military works. The military recruits young men and women. They teach them hard skills. So in the case of the guy I was talking to, he did a lot of mechanical work in his military career. So teach a person how to turn a wrench, how to fasten pipes together for plumbing or industrial fluid systems, how to work on an air compressor, all very important skills that maybe not everyone needs to know, but a lot of people need to know to have a functioning society in the 21st century. And then in my case, learn how electricity works, how to maintain electronic systems, how to do power supply checks, how to make sure that an electrical conductor is actually safe to use and it doesn't have a high resistance connection that could start a fire. Also very important skills. Not everyone needs to know, but a good amount of people need to know to have a functioning society here in the 21st century. So we both agreed on that. We were like, hey, we need something more robust to do that. And we don't need to do it through the military. I don't think people need to have the, I will sacrifice my life. Please teach me how to solder. That's a little overboard. I think that public service within itself is enough. Hey, I'll raise my right hand and promise to serve my city, my state, my nation in a peaceful manner, helping to build new housing, put down new pipes for water treatment systems, lay conduit for electrical systems. All these are super important things that, hey, more Americans, or that we need more people doing, and are all very important jobs that young people could get into if they got the proper training, and would be a net benefit both for society, because you're revamping public infrastructure, and you're giving these young men and women a real purpose in life. They're working for the greater good. They're working with their hands. They're accomplishing something. A couple of people that I had spoken to weren't actually living in Camden County or even within St. Mary's proper where the protest was being held. They mostly came from Florida, Fernandina Beach, North Jacksonville, mostly Nassau County. One of them gave me the reason of I stayed up way too late the night before and missed the Jacksonville protest, so I came to this one because it was later in the afternoon. Another person said I didn't feel comfortable at the Fernandina rally due to the people who organized it, which is all more than reasonable. And I appreciate that even though they had an obstacle to their plan A, maybe their local rally, that they figured it out. They said, hey, I could go somewhere else. And, it's really inspirational. Not everything's going to go the way you want first time around, but there's still a way to get your voice out and do what you feel is right. Overall, it was a really nice afternoon after the rainstorm passed through. Talked to a lot of good people, mostly older couples, but there was a couple young people there. There was a college couple there that was real nice to talk to. There was actually like a group of 5 seniors in high school, or they're going to be seniors this upcoming fall. And I asked them, hey, why are y'all here today? And they were like, there's nothing happening in this small town. I was like, fair enough. But we had a good conversation. One of them obviously wanted to be more politically active, so I talked to him a little bit. about what he can do and, you know, some resources that he can look at. One question that I made sure to ask every single person that I talked to at this rally on both sides of the road was, hey, do you call your local reps, your state reps, and do you call your federal representatives in the House and in the Senate? And the overwhelming answer was no, but I should probably start. Which I think is how most Americans probably are. Their only interface with their state, local, and federal representatives is on a piece of paper every 2 to 4 years, which, not really the best way to go about things, but it's just kind of the way it is here in America. But I think telling people, hey, this is an option is a good thing. There was one person, he was not from the area due to work reasons, but he still has his local representative's number, not local as in local to Camden County where the protest was being held, but local to back home out of state. And he still calls that representative fairly frequently, at least he said he did, about issues. So there is a little bit, but it's why I really encourage people, hey, call your local representative. Here in Southeast Georgia and really the entire eastern coast of Georgia, it's the 1st Congressional District of Georgia with Buddy Carter. Down at where the protest was, it's like Mr. Sands and Mr. Hodges are the state representatives, and then you can always call your community leaders about issues such as local tax rates, funding for parks, funding for infrastructure like roads. These are all opportunities that we have to make our voices known and to impact real change in our society. But it's good to see people, you know, stand up, get out, and make their voices heard. So I kind of hope that there's more events like that here in Georgia. I'm definitely going to make an attempt to get to more of these events. I know Brunswick is a major hub, Savannah is a major hub of things like that. I really want to pick people's brains and understand what they think and why they do the things that they do, why they vote the way that they vote, and have reasonable conversations with people on both sides of the aisle, even though most people are, you know, they're working class men and women just trying to get food on the table. And that's a common cause that we all have. And we don't need party politics to be dividing us on that. Overall, I'd rate the event a solid 9 out of 10, especially for a rainy afternoon in muggy Georgia.